Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's webinar, which is called Ways to Show Kindness During COVID-19. As well as looking at the theme of kindness, we're also going to talk about how this is going to be used during Mental Health Week, which is May the 18th until the 24th. So Mental Health Week, as I said, will be the 18th until the 24th of May. And the theme for this year's Mental Health Week in May is going to be kindness. Thinking about why we use mental health weeks, what they're best for, the purpose of it is to get people talking about their mental health and to be aware of and reduce stigma and discrimination associated with. So anyone out there that's a mental health first aider watching this, or a mental health champion or a wellbeing champion, please remember the theme of kindness and think about how you can be using this going forward when we begin Mental Health Week. Some of the benefits of raising awareness around mental health is that mental health can now be seen as an illness in the same way as a physical illness can. And this goes a long way to help people with their understanding. It's pretty obvious if someone comes into work and perhaps they've had a broken arm or leg to see that there's an issue there, to see that there's a problem. And as a manager, you may offer help and support for them, knowing that there will be certain things they won't be able to do whilst perhaps their leg or their arm is in plaster. The other benefit of raising awareness is it allows an organisation to assist with any individual who may be struggling, not just with a physical illness, but with their mental illness also. So if we think of kindness, what does it mean? And when I was looking at this, I found this lovely quote, which says, "Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness, and kindness in giving creates love." And I'm wondering, if I were to ask you now of a definition for kindness in the way you see it, what you might come up with. So take just a few seconds and think, what words might I use? What picture might I draw if I was asked to describe kindness? For me, it talks about kindness having a power that warms the heart and makes us feel good to both give and receive. A simple act of kindness can help our well-being. It can help create those good hormones that make us feel well and accepted. And it's the good stuff that goes into our body that makes us feel part of something and lifts any sort of anxiety or stress that we might be feeling. So kindness is a good thing, and kindness, particularly during COVID, is particularly relevant. So what does it mean now? Well, from watching the news, both UK and worldwide, we've seen kindness emerging in all sorts of ways and from many unlikely sources. I think we've seen people, perhaps some of the emergency services turning up to help and support people on their birthday. I saw something the other day on the news where someone had turned up with a birthday cake for someone within their community. That's an act of being kind, perhaps donating, perhaps doing something like that to make a person feel special. So how can you be kind during COVID-19? I've looked at this and thought it might be a good idea to use the 5 ways of well-being and see how we can fit them in to the article on kindness. And we look at the first one, which is giving. So this could be giving time to your family in whatever way that you can. Perhaps you're not living with all of your family members at the moment. Perhaps you're in isolation right now. So how can you give kindness? You can reach out to people. You can contact people in that way by using the internet, by using Skype and Zoom. All of those things now are available to us. So perhaps giving in that way is a good thing. Perhaps a donation to a charity, such as a food bank. I noticed the other day many people were volunteering to deliver food parcels to people in the community who are isolated and can't get out at the moment. So that's one way that we can look at kindness through the act of giving. We can also connect with friends and family. Think of ways of connecting with those in the community who live alone, perhaps by phoning them, perhaps reaching out to people you haven't spoken with in quite a while. We have the time now where we're able to do that sort of thing. So let it be a meaningful act. Connect with people who perhaps you don't have much contact with in the usual way. I know many people are finding this a difficult and challenging time, but for some, people are actually finding that they're thriving throughout it. They are reaching out to their family. They have more time to do that. They are Skyping their grandchildren. They are talking to their family online. They are doing things like sharing recipes and cooking together in exactly the same way as if the person was with them, but by using the technology that we now have available to us. We can take notice. Now, what does that mean? Normally, that means taking notice of the things around us. And I guess it means that too here as well. However, what we're looking for now is perhaps taking notice when someone's talking to you, perhaps someone you don't see very often. And when they're talking, perhaps notice any change in their usual demeanour. Maybe you will notice there's some difference in the way they're speaking. Maybe if you're looking at them, you'll think, well, they're looking different. They're not looking as well as I normally know them to be, in which case perhaps I need to do something to offer help and support. Would you be able to tell, I wonder, if they're struggling with their mental well-being? And if you do, what might you do? Well, at this stage, you could contact your mental health first aiders and ask if they're available for a chat with that person. There are so many things we can help with, but we do need to take notice of the things around us, particularly the people around us at this time. Be aware of slight changes, be aware of difference, be aware of how you might be able to help and support. So we look at being active. Now, this is a challenge. This is a challenge because we're in lockdown. This is a challenge where we can't go out and about freely, but we can still get out and do some exercise during the day. We can still do things via the television, keep fit classes, all of those things we can still do. You can take walks with those in your own household, and I think it's really, really important to do that. I think there's a tendency perhaps at the moment to think, well, I'm not working, if indeed you're not working, and I can just sit at home and I don't need to do anything. And that's not good for our mental well-being or physical well-being. So being active, joining a yoga class online, doing PE online, doing things with the children online, anything to keep you not just mentally stimulated, but physically active as well. And keep learning. Now is the time. We've got plenty more time now than we've ever had before. We don't have that commute into work in the morning. That saves us time. We don't have that commute in the evening, and that also saves us time. So considering how we can help people during this time, what learning can we try? Can we learn a language? Can we learn with friends and families? Can we sign them up for a family quiz? What can we do? We need to be creative with that. And thinking of lockdown and thinking of well-being and thinking of being kind, we remember when there was an announcement to say that on a Thursday evening we would stand on the doorstep and applaud the National Health Service and all those people that are caring for us in this difficult time. That was just supposed to be one evening, but it's grown and grown now, and it's become not just a UK-wide event, but globally. We all stand on that doorstep on a Thursday evening and we all clap. Some people are out there with pans banging and car horns tooting and singing, and maybe that's the only time you have to see your neighbours. So I think it's worth remembering that, you know, standing on that doorstep and clapping is not just showing appreciation, but it's seeing those people around you. So remember the 5 ways to well-being, remember to be active and keep learning. I think they're really important at this moment in time. Remember, the world may be changing, and for many of us, this is a scary time. But for some, it's a time to ask ourselves, how do we want to be when we go back to whatever normality might be? We might need to ask the question, can I continue as I did before the pandemic? How were you kind then? What acts of kindness were you performing then? What might need to change? How might the world be different? How can my presence in that world make a difference? How can I be kind to people? How can I help and support them? And also I have to ask myself, do I want or need to change in any way? And if so, how would that be? Whatever the longer term outcome to this pandemic, we can at least be kind. And finally, and not less important in any way at all, it's about being kind to yourself. Remember to look after your own mental and physical well-being, and do something within the home that you enjoy and that makes you feel part of something, that makes you feel good. And those of you that had date nights, for example, before the lockdown, try and recreate those within the home. Perhaps cook a special meal with someone and be alongside them, but do look after yourself. Remember that Care First remains available for 24/7 contact. We're available for telephone counselling and support, for contracted telephone counselling and for the information service, the management support and advice, and for telephone critical incident support. all of the organisations out there will probably be dialing a different number to get into Care First. So do find out from your organisation what that number is that you need to phone. I'm mindful this is really just a short webinar, but it is way ahead in terms of mental health first aid, given that the theme is kindness. And I think it gives us time to consider what we're going to do as organisations during Mental Health Week and how we can get the theme of kindness out there to people, and what we ourselves can do to continue to be kind. Thank you for your time. If there are any questions, please email them to info@carefirst and we will get back to you with a response to those emails. Thank you.